Hey guys, welcome back to Higurashi. I'm Nicole Knight, and we're going to be continuing on with Chapter 10 of the first part of Higurashi when they cry visual novel. And basically, we got a lot more reasons to find our friends, like, super suspicious. Essentially, I called off for the day to be sick, and got to talk with the police chief some more about things, and get to see our friends Mion and Rena, and they both somehow managed to find out that, hey, you went to lunch with this dude today. And what were you talking about? And we're just like, and they brought me a treat that had a freaking needle in it. Because that's what friends do for each other, is give each other terrible treats. Okay. I know you want me to shut up and just get right into it. I understand. Let's go. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. Come on. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Of all things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with the danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it felt as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Oh, Wah! I sprang to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door. Poor Mom. Whoa, Keiji? What's the matter? Sorry, I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but morning sun had already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up, and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or if it would have pierced my tongue. It was undoubtedly murderous intent, but I didn't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't just resort to dubious method of having me swallow a needle. Meaning I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time, we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kinda. Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back to track once your daily routine's thrown off. Come on, get up. They say wellness is a state of mind. I've heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is ready. There isn't much time before Rena-chan comes and gets you. Mom's tone meant I really couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday. I hated if you missed school tomorrow. Came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What does she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying, don't be absent. Taking it a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Uishi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect, it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So if I just went along as normal, no harm could be done to me. No harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep living on like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could. I swallowed hard. Once again, deliberated on the idea I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some of her rules of theirs, a chance. What I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had really given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept living like I'd been, I'd be forgiven. Eiichi, your food's gonna get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Ren will be here if you don't hurry. I'm coming. Grabbed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I was gonna say, did he go to school in the anime again? I think he did. It's been a minute. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I need to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened in the past 2 days, forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. That chime signaled Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Rena-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry. My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side was the Rena I knew. Couldn't keep her waiting. I mean, you could. I need to do things as usual. The sense of paranoia in the game, I love it. It's so crazy how, like, quick it was like, you know what? It's just a little weird and a couple things all of a sudden to, oh my god, I'm going to die. Morning! An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay, I wonder? The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew. That was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday, pretend though as nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their deaths, and the terminal illness and suicide, and the lynching and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. And it was like that. He did not forget. Forget that Ren and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi too. Forget. I just don't... It's like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. That's when everything was not fine. Rena once again asked to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great, then let's go. Mi-chan's waiting. Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. You see, Satsuko-chan was so insistent that she could do it. As we were walking, Rena talked a lot about different stuff, more so than usual. Then? Satsuko-chan was clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute. God, I feel like I can't even keep up that same act anymore. It's like, nope, I know your true side now. Nope. Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense, so I replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors, and they called out to us. Oh my, Keiichi-san and Rena-chan. Aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh, Mi-chan looked mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun. We smiled and parted ways with our neighbor, and they turned back towards me and stuck out their tongue. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. Keiji-kun smiled. Huh? What? Rena stopped and stared at me. I was thinking that you still haven't recovered from your cold, but you seemed down this morning, Keiji-kun. But you seem fine. Fine. With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was bright and sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Marbara. How can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Oh, I can still doubt you for several different things. Don't worry about that. Maybe I just had high fever up until today, and I imagined everything I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. No, bro, no. I really hope that was the case. If God were to grant me just one wish, there was only one thing I'd wish for. I would want what happened the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night, I want it all to have never happened. I wonder how many times I wished for these the past few days. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I didn't think it'd become reality. I think it might just become reality. I wanted Rena to keep smiling. Keep on smiling. Just keep smiling. Just keep smiling. Anyway, so Keiji-kun. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? That vain wish of mine had instantly shattered. Haha, I told you! Smack. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual, and her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that. Keiji-kun? I was reluctant to give an answer. Rena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Marbara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I need to respond in my usual way, naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth were gone dry and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not much time has passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. D? Rena playfully mimicked what I said, and when I finally squeaked something out, Rena's reaction was still normal. It seems like there wasn't a long pause, as I had thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious. However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see. So, did you eat all of them? I wonder. Oh, right, we sort of avoided the question. I see. My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it. Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made? That homework, was it due today? Yeah, it was due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you. We both laughed at each other again. To the casual observer, this is just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think there was just an usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena. Lies. I recalled that unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt like a cold trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Uishi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before Rubu-san moved away to Himinazawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through a school building and broke all the windows. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, the fact that would not change. But I couldn't imagine how she looked as she broke through the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew is that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some spur outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. Or she broke all of the windows throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school, breaking the windows with a bat. Ow. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Her classmates aghast. unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Walk, wind up. Walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Rena smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise that as Rena treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to breathe. I wondered what they did to Rena. I wondered what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight of Rena bursting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing a path for Rena to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. It was not to say they were looking the other way, they were doing the only thing they could do to protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would be the next window. Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. And Rena struck me with the bat over and over again like I was one of those windows. I crouched down to the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hit me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent, it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as a pleasant sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound of Rena didn't come out. Or the sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out? But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. Then gained nothing from saving a crammed school tryhard like me. Eventually, there would be a faint sound similar to when you crack open a walnut, or some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san had told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit of that. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Rena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over again. Oyashiro-sama. It seemed that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. It was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture. But it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then, what Rena did, what she was saying was ghastly incident as a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama. Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year had happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more certain that those deaths were some work of men and not some curse. Except, it was the people perpetrating the incidents, all my friends somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe in those who acted the kindest to me, who deeply involved in those incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was Rena... was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiwa's curse. In the aftermath, Rena admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiwa-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiwa-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Oyashiwa-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying that it was Oyashiwa-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice, accepting that Oyashiwa-sama's curse exists, or that Rena and the rest of them, who were deeply involved with a string of mysterious deaths. I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that. But it was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meeting to my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being human or a curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all. H-kun? You've been making a weird face. Why, I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I realized it, we're already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Rena could have done such terrible things. Anyway, it was like I was trying to placate myself. Oh god. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. Chalk dust went in my eyes, including a brief moment of agony. Oh ho 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 ho. I see no upbeat music anymore. How befitting for the truant Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena. Good morning, Satoko-chan and Rika-chan. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently. What is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem to be his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay? Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Mion. Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full of stuff about Rena, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday. Yeah, morning. What's with that unenergetic greeting? Did you eat all the mochi I bought you? As I ate them, I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but there were quite a bit left over. What about the homework? Did you have an answer for which one was Rena's? I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Cage-kun. Sheesh. Then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Me-hee-hee-hee-hee. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. I didn't get a chance to guess anyway? Whatever. There was nothing from our exchange that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it's so frightening. They acted in a way, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maibara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. This free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Uishi-san multiple times, I could see that I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. It was warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a worrying was just my habit of understanding things. It probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me, they were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation from my desk made me recall Satoshi Hoju, the boy who was using this seat until last year when he disappeared. He was also similar to me. Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn. I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. Were they really trying to kill me? I've had the contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had no cover for it. I felt I had to cover for them. With all their suspicious behavior, mourning like this would just seem like an elaborate hoax. No, with just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends, covering for them, my life was in danger, or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Rena and the rest of them, were they really aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maebara? The answer should be obvious. But, but maybe that sewing needle might have been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of a doubt can only go so far. Both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked me about what I had for lunch. Rena was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. She was probably waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour, outside your room. And it was normal to go home afterwards without saying anything. You heard from Oishi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did to her former school? But at the hospital, she said it was Yushiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Maebara. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around and check if anyone else had heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rena and the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. You think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who had been happily laughing together with me up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so anyone could hear it. There was just one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made such resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I would have happily jumped into that circle. My, Keiichi-san. How rude of you to even think about leaving? The way Sachiko spoke was so typical and familiar. It almost physically hurt. See, in this scenario, I've noticed nothing comes up with, Sachiko and Rika. So that's a good, that's a sign that they weren't involved, maybe? I don't really remember. But I think it was mainly Rena and Mion that was, like, the main, antagonists, so to speak. Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Oh. Seeing Rena's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, Maybe Uishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking, I slap myself in the face. I'm actually not gonna hit myself in the face, that's stupid. Keiichi-kun? Yeah, was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not, I just wanted someone to say it was. Gah, another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive? Easily. Are you alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Rena. You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder. No, it's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. I just have a meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in a club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since Kei-chan was so bent on having a revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before, too. Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic. I wouldn't fall for such a dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head. Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate. It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my hand with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said before, as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in this state of mind. Took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Harden that heart, Keiichi Mabara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them. Because weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivety. While another part lamented in the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my consciousness was being ripped out my body. If this is what Oyashiro-sama's curse was like, then this was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama. I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believe in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist. So seriously, give me a break. I beg of you, come on. And that's when that bitch said nope. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. Miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at dinner table, it was either meant he had reached to a good point to take a break or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it was so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I just feel like it's an industry with lots of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business... I wasn't able to pick up much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off the same thought process I had going all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. First course of action that came to mind was tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Himinizawa I could trust 100%. That meant only people I could trust were my parents. I told them everything that happened up until now. Would they understand? Rena, for example. The neighborly Rena, who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought me over a share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. To my somewhat eccentric dad, wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in a blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No. By informing of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in the past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Marbera family to have an accident or just to vanish off into thin air, it was easily possible in Himinizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary can put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least, it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started to become odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be a safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based off the conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was a pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe, as it was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Uishi-san, him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was, without a doubt, passionate about solving the case. A bit frustrating. Uishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess, but now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meaning, it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves a bit, as bait. Then when the fish started gathering around, Uishi-san would pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. And when they struck, I needed to somehow dodge enough just to tag out to Oishi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oishi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not in Minazawa. So if I phoned him at any moment, if need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I would need to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something. I'd just have to hide out there until Oishi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I never would have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, it would be probably best if I had a concealed weapon for when things get rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, it was recognized as a weapon by public, so that wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. I remember there was a metal bat at school, and I could be confident with that bat when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it would be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I'd go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing. Insurance. It could be something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Uishi-san would be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Marbaro, am in fear of my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Rena and the others are suspicious, but I had no proof. And that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly to myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I can only pray that they would. What I prayed most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Harry laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was sound of mind, I chose to not write anything else at that point. I just need to add more as I learned about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was the chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it wasn't too obscure in a location, then there was a risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall, stick the folded note to the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I need to set it up that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles, which I was satisfied with, and made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. Didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I never started a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favor to ask both of you, so please listen. Just in case, yeah? If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both my parents' eyes widened as wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained eye-wide, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So please. What's the matter, Keiichi? Did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response for when someone's son suddenly talked about a subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. In the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, so I decided to go back up to my room. I just want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I need to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bet. That should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight had begun was mine and mine alone, and I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed. Not when I still know nothing. Received news, not feeling so hot. Okay. Chasing shadows. Cool. New tips. Rishiku's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder. Maybe he's on his period. Mami-chan, that's gross. Yuck, yuck, yuck. What do you think? Oh no. Could it be that Kei-chan maybe... I don't know. That day, Kei-chan was in the car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake. That Ushi, he's probably fed him something fishy. He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie. Oh, is that so? In the year before last, Marika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Ushi. Now that you mention it, it happened right before Satoshi-kun transferred out. Transferred? Ah, haha, you're so sweet, Rena. So this time he's appeared before Keiji-kun. So Keiji-kun's gonna be demoned away too? An empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Alright, save on this part here. Alright. I've been recording for a little bit now, and I think this will be a good place to stop, I think, just for the evening, for me. It's getting good. It's just like, okay, interesting stuff happened, please, please, you know, and it's definitely keeping me on my toes in that regard. So, thank y'all so much for watching, and let me know what y'all think of the game in the comments. Anyway, have yourselves a great one, and see you soon. Bye-bye.